What's going on, guys? Flash, episode 5 of season 3. Let's get into it. So let's just start out by saying episode 5 was, it was alright. It wasn't great. It wasn't super boring, but it was like in the middle somewhere. Now, surprisingly enough, this episode kind of really wasn't about Barry per se. It was kind of about his supporting team. First, let's talk about HR. So the new Harrison Wells is a little bit strange. They really couldn't figure out what it was, but Cisco, he just had this idea of like, man, something's off about this guy. I'm not sure what it is. Come to find out, he's not even a scientist. You see him recording himself, talking about the team doesn't really know yet what's going on. He claims that he's an author and kind of the face of Star Labs and his planet on his Earth. But he's not technically a scientist. He's kind of like the visionary, so to speak, but not necessarily have the technical skills to pull those things off. I'm not 100% sure I'm buying this. I think that this is still another kind of smoke and mirrors thing, that there's something else going on with HR, because we still didn't get to see Cisco vibe him yet. So we don't really know if what he's telling us is factual. He's just saying it. Do you guys not have trust? Basically kind of like baiting them with that. And then come to find out later on that, he's he's not a scientist and all this. I really think that there's more to him than he's explaining to us. He really feels like a con artist. So hopefully we figure out later on if Vibe gets to vibe him. I personally feel that there's something weird going on with him. And then we have Caitlyn. Caitlyn goes off. She's gone for a couple of days. And she goes to her mom. Her mom's a scientist. I forgot what city they're in. But she's basically there to find out what's going on with her body and how to reverse it or figure out what that looks like. Now, she goes there, meets with her, basically shows her abilities because it kind of pissed her off that she didn't really want to take the time, freezes her desk, and her mom was like, cancel all my appointments. Now, this was interesting because we had kind of like this ulterior motive going on at first. And it still may be that way. Now, the mom's assistant, after they got done doing a test, basically pulls the mom aside and said, hey, like, if we can figure out what this is, this could really change everything that we're doing here. We don't really know what they're doing there yet. So I'm not really sure what it is they're working on that, whatever they're learning from Caitlyn can actually help them in. But you see later on, after Caitlyn tries to kind of, mend her and her mom's relationship, she decides to leave and the, assistant doesn't want her to. And at that particular moment, you kind of see the Killer Frost come out of her. Now, I have a sneaking suspicion that someone's going to push her over the edge that's going to create her as Killer Frost. Does that mean that her powers make her evil? Because it seems like another person takes over when her powers are showcased. Doesn't necessarily mean that, but it is really curious when she does use her, her frosting ability. That she kind of gets this whole demeanor about her that's a little bit darker. Not to mention, I really like how they're utilizing her eyes in, this iteration of her. Prior, it seemed she had like contact lenses. This actually looks more as if, she has this kind of like snowy effect going on in her eyes. I really like it. And then you have Barry and Julian trying to figure out what it is that they actually are. Are they a bromance? Are they at each other's heads? Like, I don't really know, but I'm glad that they're kind of making this whole thing better for themselves without Barry having to reveal himself as the Flash. I really, really enjoy that. It starts out with Julian basically snitching on Barry. He should have been like, look, bro, happens to snitches. But through the episode, you see Julian and Barry starting to work a little bit together, trying to figure some stuff out. Barry decides that he wants to shadow him just to kind of try to bond with him a little bit. They kind of, stumble upon a solution of what's going on as far as this kind of controlled monster. Later finding out that, it's a remote-controlled monster that's a hologram by a kid. And Julian pulls the trigger on this kid, and Barry has to come as the Flash to stop the bullet from actually killing this kid because Julian just got trigger happy. And I really liked how this played out because it wasn't Barry showing, himself to Julian that he's the Flash and he had all these things that happened to him in the past. It was more so of Flash's actions that impacted Julian that was like, oh shit, I messed up, and Flash saved what I was about to do is basically kill this kid from happening. And I like that it kind of changed his perspective versus the whole like, look man, I'm Barry. Like I hate that stuff, so I'm glad they didn't go that route. But all in all, the episode was cool. Like there wasn't really anything that was like super dope. besides the Killer Frost stuff to me. I felt like that's the most interesting because we don't know if we're going to keep Caitlyn on Team Flash or are we going to lose her to Killer Frost. We don't know where that is right now. You see at the end of the episode, she basically destroys her computer. So we're not really sure yet. Keep in mind, Alchemy was nowhere to be found in this episode. And these are one of the things, too, that I really I wish that Flash was a shorter season. I feel like they have to stretch their budget over 23, 24 episodes versus just making, 12 episodes that are just ridiculously dope and content that just kind of moves forward versus kind of like these kind of side story things to the main story. But it was good. Like, it wasn't, like I said, overwhelming. It wasn't super boring. It just had points where you're just kind of like waiting like for something awesome to happen or a new revelation that just never really came. But that's going to do it for my recap, guys. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys thought of episode 5 of season 3 of Flash. I would really like to know. If you guys like this video, hit that thumbs up button. Show your boys some love. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you're going to want to do that. Just hit that APP logo in the corner to subscribe to the channel. And if you guys want to check out my previous week's episode, link will be right here. All right, guys. Until next time. See you later.